Vasya Upanishad and the Masnavi of Jalaluddin Rumi sung in Dhrupad. Inspiration and guidance for this project came from Sri M. This show has become an integral part of the Walk of Hope. Sonal is deeply grateful to Sri M for this journey of learning, singing, and walking the path of spirituality. Music for this show in the Dhrupad style has been composed by Padam Shri Gundecha brothers. The sixth shloka of the Isha Vasya Upanishad, which was Gandhiji's favorite shloka, will be rendered in the Yajurvedic style of chanting. At the end of the show, which will last 90 minutes, we will have a short discussion on the ideas presented with Sri M and eminent artists, scholars, and scientists who are present here today.
Okay, so what we request you is to please make a comment on the show and then ask a question, which of Sri M, because he has been our inspiration, something that will bring this knowledge about the two texts that we have tried to portray a little more deeply. So may I give it to Raj?
Thank you. It is an honor to share the stage with you, Sri M. Some years ago, Tara was preparing for her TED talk, and that's when I first heard about her idea about doing something that now bridges the gap between people, because that's what we really need for the next generation. And I think it was only logical for her to then move with the guidance and direction of Sri M to bring together this wonderful, wonderful script. When the script was first given to me to read, I just sat there, I read it, and it went over my head. And it was 36 pages long, and I am not a spiritual person. I didn't understand it. And the young boy that you see asking the questions is actually me, because I just didn't know what it meant. So a lot of me has gone into that young man who's asking for questions. I can't say that I'm still there. I have miles to go before I sleep. It was great to work with fantastic musicians. The Gundecha brothers produced some absolutely fabulous music. And I think we've put together quite a nice show. I hope you agree. May I have the temerity to ask you, what did you think of the way we portrayed our questioning, our angst, because that's basically what it's all about.
Am I supposed to do it now or later? Now. How many minutes do I have? Thank you. Thank you for sharing this place with us. This Isha Rumi, which you have produced and which we saw today, I've seen it before. If you remember, I saw it before it was put out or shown in public. It's a tremendous effort, and it is not so easy to define the undefinable. You know, so the attempt has been in our own way to define, to come to terms with something which is as vast as the ocean, or maybe vaster than that. If you give me 2 minutes, I will tell you about Jalaluddin Rumi, a little bit, who is also part of this, because you have used the Masnavi quite a bit. The Masnavi is in Persian. Some people might be wondering some language, whether this is Arabic or Urdu. It is Persian. And the Persian language has something very similar also to Sanskrit. Therefore, when Mrs. Tarakini came to me and discussed this matter, we took out some verses of the Masnavi as well as the Upanishad. And she said, this fits into Drupad because it's so similar. Then I realized that Masnavi, which I have been looking at for some time, also fits into it. Now the story is, which was of course evident in the way it was, especially the person, Mr. Panikkar, who put out the Rumi side story. I think he did very well. Of course, the young man with the Isha Upanishad also did well. This man, known as Jalaluddin Rumi, is so respected among the Sufi circles that he's called Maulana, which means our master. The word Maulana means our master. And he lived in Turkey. He came from somewhere else and settled down in Turkey. His full name was Jalaluddin Rumi. He was already a great scholar and an expert on Islamic jurisprudence, and was an alim, which means he knew the Quran by heart and all the hadiths and everything connected with this. This was the way he was, a respected scholar respected by the kings and the sultans of Istanbul. But what happened was, one day, on the street, he met a person who looked totally mad. And his name was Shams Tabriz. That means, Shams means actually the sun, but that was his name, Shams of Tabriz, from Tabriz, who came from Tabriz. That place, name of a place, like Girish Karnad, like Shams Tabriz. So, when Jalaluddin Rumi, the great scholar and the great expert in jurisprudence, set his eyes on Shams, who was a completely madman for all intents and purposes of ordinary life, he fell in love with him. He went mad. And the result was, he threw all his books, which he carried with him wherever he went, into the water, to the river, into the ocean, and declared that from now on he was only a lover. Which when it ended, the last verse was that I am nobody but just a poor disciple of Shams Tabriz. So that Shams Tabriz, whose name itself was the sun, burnt away all the acquired knowledge that he had and purified him in that fire. And when he came back, he was completely different. Now, then he started this, what is called the dance of the whirling dervishes, as they are called. Now, in Turkey, you can see the whirling dervishes, but it's only a tourist attraction, which is made up for entertainment. Jalaluddin Rumi himself has declared that after 200 years, if you see a Sufi system surviving, there's only the shell, the core is gone. He himself said. Anyway, now this whirling started like this. Shams Tabriz told him at some point, am I taking over or what? Sorry.
Fascinating.
Shams Tabriz told him, I'm sorry, at some time, that this whole world, this entire universe, is always in motion. It goes round and round. There is nothing that is still. If you use a word of Vasaveshwara, which is so far away from there, the whole world was Jangama. That means that which moves. You know, in opposition to that which is still, sthavara, stale. When something is in water is stale, it becomes full of mosquitoes. And when it is moving, now this is what Isha Upanishad says. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat, which means yat kincha jagatyam means that which moves. The jagat, the whole universe is called jagat because it is jagatyam, that which moves. So he said, it was always in his mind that perhaps if we move with that, the movement, with the mind, of course, we can move with it. He said also physically, if one can move with this movement that's going on, perhaps we'll reach the center, which is absolutely still, like the eye of a cyclone. You know, there is no movement there. But it sucks up everything. It is the most powerful part of a cyclone. So he tried to find that silent spot in the middle of the cyclone, in this Jagatyam, Jagat. But it didn't come to him that way. This was in his mind. He had a great friend who was a goldsmith. So one day, Rumi walked out. Now, Rumi is also a name of a place. He walked out, and while he was passing the goldsmith's shop, he heard his friend, the goldsmith, with a hammer hitting a piece of gold to shape it. So he went tuck, and Rumi, who had already gone mad with Shams Tabriz, stood there outside the shop and said tuck and turned. Then he did one more tuck and he turned again. Then he did tuck, tuck, and he went in a whirl. And this of course, the goldsmith was forgotten, the knockings were forgotten, and he was in a whirl. Now in this whirl, while he whirled like a top, something flew out, and he was free. Not physically, he was not dead. But from the center there came something which possessed him totally, and he understood perhaps what it meant. I think I'll stop with this. So, your attempt at bringing this out totally with the Rumi's whirl of the whirling Darvish and the Jagatyam Jagat of the Isha Upanishad, I would say was one of the best one can do. What else can you do with mortal hands? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sandhya. I came into this project quite recently when a few months ago Tarakini asked me if I would make a DVD, shoot a production of Isha Rumi and make a DVD of the whole show. And I said very easily, I said, yeah, sure, we'll do it. I didn't tell her I'd never done a 3-camera setup of a live production before. I make documentary films, and so we did that, and it was fascinating because not only were we shooting it live, but we also did like a 24-channel live sound recording on stage. So it was not recorded in a studio, but was recorded live on stage. So we had to have the lights, the music, and the 3 cameras all coordinated each time for each take. And as you saw, there are so many stories and sections to this production. Well, the shooting happened in one day, but when we started editing, I felt I was spending a lot of time editing, but as I kept looking at the timeline, it didn't seem to end. And that's again when I realized that there was something about, not just because it was 90 minutes long, but I think it's something to do with the nature of the production, the kind of music where I think I was getting very involved in the music. The philosophy of it, I think, is also, like many people have said, is not something I was able to comprehend each time. And I think, which is why one enjoys coming to repeated shows of Isha Rumi, as well as when I was editing and repeatedly listening to the verses, because there is so much to learn and think about in each time. So today when I heard this line about the water, that if you don't go with the splash, but go with the rush of the river, and then you're part of that spirit. And I think that somewhere I had some experience of enjoying the rush of the river while doing the production. So I'm very, very grateful to life for giving me this opportunity to make this DVD and meet so many wonderful people who are all coming together to sing. I don't have any questions, because still thinking, but that's my comment. Thank you.
Pranam, sir. Good evening. I've known Tara for a stretch of time now, and for the best part of it, we've been working in communities, singing, dancing, and poorer communities, slums and villages. And whenever we have had this golden opportunity to drive around to these villages, I would keep asking Tara, she would keep sharing about this Isha Rumi, which was much more than a bug that had bitten her. And it was her complete living breath, so to say, very often. And there was a lot I thought I learned from her each time she would start talking about it. And then I met all the beautiful people who are part of Sunad and know many of them. So it's just wonderful to have been here and listen to them tell us that the fire is to burn that ego, and that wave in the ocean is to make us forget all that is not about us and much more. And sir, so my question is, how... Sir, may I ask you if this Padayatra, in a way, is going to be the one that's going to help us get rid of that selfish self and try to move on with that selfless ego that we heard so much about, that we want to leave behind as much as we can. Certainly can't leave it behind in this hall, but at least every step of the way that we take with you as we walk for humanity. In what humble way can we make this a better walk and take it step by step with you to do our best to become selfless out there?
You're right. This walk is not only, as I said very often, it's not just a walk and going to Srinagar and coming back. That itself is quite difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, physical work also. But it is how we can stay together as a group and do the inner journey, which is, you know, in different circumstances, people react in different ways. Every night we stay in a different place. It's like the ancient Parivrajaka who went from place to place. And every day we meet different people. You know, how this core group, which is walking with me from Kanyakumari and hoping to come up to Srinagar, how we react to what's happening around us, and how, in spite of the differences of the rainbow, we understand that it comes from the same white light. You see? So this is the inner journey for us. If we finish the Srinagar and come back, and still the inner journey doesn't take place, I think we'll do only 50% of this walk. We are not finished the walk. It's not over. So this is the journey actually, Anita. And I suggest that as many people as possible get on to this. You need not necessarily walk with me, but at least have the idea about what the walk is about, which I don't have to explain, it's already there. And I must tell Tara that you're a good inspiration for us for this walk. Really good inspiration. We started from Trivandrum, if I'm right, with the Sunat, and it has been great. It has affected the minds of many people, because to talk is one thing and to do is something else. So you're doing something as we are walking, right? I want to quote Jalaluddin Rumi himself. He was a great iconoclast in a way. He said, when people used to go, he saw the danger that at some point his tomb will be worshipped and people won't do what he did or understand what he said. So when he was still alive, he said to people, Tute ki guri mardan re parasti, bigirdi re mardan girdorasti. He said, why are you coming and knocking your heads on the tombstones? Do what they did who are under the tomb, and you will be celebrated forever. So this thing is something very important to bear in mind, that action which is done with the understanding that we are all linked together. As the Isha Upanishad says, Kurvanye veha karmani jiji visheta shatam samaha. You can work 100 years and do your work if you know that you are doing nothing actually, but are part of this whole movement of life. Na karma lipyate nare. Nothing from this work will ever touch your ego, and you will be free and not get caught up. I did this. This is the central theme of both Isha as well as Masnavi. Thank you.
It's wonderful to be in your presence. Pranam, Guruji. I feel so proud of what you're doing with your walk of hope. It's something so exhilarating for all of us who are working with the poorest of the poor. We're working with children who are in 5 different metros. We're educating them, providing them the best quality education to make them into socially responsible citizens, global citizens of this world. I would love you to share a message that I can share with my thousands of children through my organization. I have shared with them a little bit about, they have taken part in the essay competition, they've done very well. They are also looking forward to your messages. They're going to meet you in Delhi. So I'd love a message from you that I can take across to these children who we are rearing as the future leaders of our country. And they have the potential and they have the thirst to change India and to be one.
You know, when we grow and when we acquire and when we get into relationships, very often due to our bad experiences also, we become kind of narrow. The children have nothing like that. So after many years they infuse it into their heads, oh, you are different from that one is otherwise they, in their little childhood, enjoy as if everything is theirs, right? So in spite, of course they need some knowledge, there's no question about that. I'm not against technology or knowledge, it's important. But that childlike innocence in their minds, the feeling that they won't mind playing with another child, and they don't look at a child's background if they want to play with a child, unless we tell them. So if you can maintain that, and that message can go to them, I think we have done our duty to the future generation, because the future is left with these young people. We have, I think, of our generation almost failed in this matter. So can we make them think about it? This would be I don't want to say much, but this would be my message to them.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Shyam, it's an honor to be with you on stage. First of all, I'd like to say something about the show. It's absolutely a fantastic production. This is the second time I've seen it within a year. Taraji has done a remarkable job, and lots of accolades have gone, so may I request to give Taraji one more round of applause. What's important in the show is that you heard 2 different philosophies blended into one, and very well portrayed. And very beautifully done. You know, the chanting and the shlokas and all the sutradhara and everything was very beautifully done. But each one of you, what do you take away from it? I remember last time when we attended, we were 7 of us. We were driving back and everybody saying, what a fantastic show it was. Then after 5-10 minutes, I just asked one question, so what did you take away from it? What did you get out of it? There was a bit of a silence for some time. because everybody started thinking, what did I get out of it? So I'm just suggesting to all of you that the messages that you got, which is, you start feeling a very humble person that, you've done this, that, and the other. And after hearing all the stories, how your soul should be, and your mind actually I'm more of a mind person rather than a soul person. So how your mind should be at calm and peace and so on. So this is what I got out of it. Maybe you can add to that message. My question to you is a little bit more different from this. Here we saw two philosophies, two religions. At the end of the day, religion is all in the mind. Whatever has been inducted into your mind from age 2, 3, 4, some people change their religions halfway. It's all in the mind. But what's important is if that religion which is put in your mind keeps your mind at peace. Now, if it is not at peace, then you see all these wars because of religion. How can that part of the religion be put into the mind? Because it's all in the mind, it's nothing else. Everything else is what you think, and this is wrong, and this is right, and so on and so forth. The other day we were talking about innovation. Who is a good innovator? A terrorist. You see all these films, James Bond and all that business, Spider-Man. The guys who are the bad guys, they are actually very innovative, except it's going in the wrong way. How can those innovations and those things be more productive with the use of science, with the use of technology? Maybe you can throw some light on that. Sorry, it's a little complicated question.
Not complicated. Well, as you said, you're a mind man, not a soul man. I'm a soul man and a mind man, so I have to do it in my way. The thing is that you're right. Finally, everything is in the mind. Whether you are looking for the soul or whether you're looking for material good, it's finally with the mind. If it was not with the mind, how and why would religions, for instance, prescribe certain things to be done so that the mind becomes purified? So that's correct. We are only saying that when the mind becomes absolutely clear and calm and quiet, if one wishes, it could be transcended. That's all that we are saying. But of course, the mind has to be purified. There is no question. Now, if the mind is purified, now what has happened is technology goes one way, right? And you can invent, you can innovate, you can do many things, but there is no morals to it. Can you imagine today's condition with all the nuclear weapons and some monkey sitting there with the buttons at his fingertips who has no mind at all? One press and the whole world will end in a Holocaust. So technology also should be aimed at bettering human beings. This is all I'm saying. It's good. Now we have internet. I can send all my good thoughts to others. Right, good. But they should be good thoughts and not thoughts which create problems among people. Let's not even discuss spirit or religion. Not required. This much is required, that we should be able to share with others. Now, I personally, having read and gone into many of the religious concepts, deep down, of course, many things can be misinterpreted. But deep down, the idea is peace, goodness. The Gita, for instance, says, Krishna says, the closest devotee or the greatest yogi, I would define as, not me, in the Gita, as one who is sarva bhuta hite ratha, one who has the welfare of all living beings in his heart. Now, you can always turn it around and misinterpret this. You can say this means only me or my circle and not all. But it says sarva, which means everything. So when you say sarva, you should not and you cannot exclude anything. The ancient Vedic prayer says, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve shantu niramaya. And the Vedas did not say goodness only for your country or goodness only for the particular island. They said, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Now, these are things which are generally overlooked. However, we in this country have a rich heritage of welcoming all kinds of thinking and religions, differences of opinion. In ancient times, there were atheists who were known as Charvakas. Even they were welcomed into the system. Some of the Charvakas are called rishis. So, this thing is very important for us. So, therefore, if we send a message from this country, I think the world will sit up and think. But the message should be Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, not only for here. My study of other religions like Islam, and into which I was born, and Christianity and the Jewish religion, the Buddhism, the Jains. After all, the Jains say ahimsa paramo dharma. There is no dharma which is better than non-violence. Non-violence not only physically, but in thought, word and deed. So I think if you concentrate on that, then this problem can be, after all we have a hope, which is why we are on this walk of hope. I think we should never lose hope. This is my take on this. Thank you.
I thank all the panelists again for...
Can you comment on this universal thing for within the country as part of your walk of hope?
What is that?
Within the country, for this concept of...
Yeah, but we have to start somewhere, and it's good to start in your own backyard, and then we may prove that as an example to the whole world. Thank you.